In the deep darkness of the distant past, when the world was engulfed in war and chaos, representatives of the eternal struggle between good and evil entered into a fierce battle. It was not just a struggle for survival, but a real battle on the edge of life and death. The warriors stood surrounded by opponents in iron armor armed to the teeth, who prevailed in number and strength. The enemies sought to destroy them. Understanding came to them. All seemed lost. Hope was lost every minute, but suddenly salvation came, illuminating all around with a bright glow. The air was torn by a magical blue light that exploded with incredible force, momentarily blinding and scattering the warriors in different directions, breaching their defense lines. Panic gripped the assailants, as they did not understand the origin of this force, and the strangers who stood in the center were pleasantly surprised to feel that at last the long-awaited rescue from the commander had come. Time traveler Li Yun became the unexpected savior of his people. Towering over defeated enemies, he seemed to glow with the energy he radiated. He arrived at a place called Shenzhou, Jade Country, one of the four great powers. Upon his arrival, his first task was to organize an uprising to restore justice to the country. It happened 2 years ago. No one doubted that Li Yun possessed special abilities and knowledge that had no analogues in the world. After Li Yun arrived in Shenzhou and joined the rebellion, he proved to be a very strong leader due to his skillful tactics and strategic thinking. He was elected leader and nicknamed the Immortal, but last year the rebels were disbanded and a new ruler was installed. Many people hope that this will finally bring peace. Yi Yun, once an immortal rebel leader, is now an ordinary person living an ordinary life. He has a common law wife. Despite the not-so-good past of her family, she has a very unusual beauty. Li Yi proves to be a good wife and cooks delicious food that is no different from the food in the imperial palace, and Li Yun loves her. Thus came the peaceful life that Li Yun had always dreamed of. But was everything really as it seemed? Li Yun's life was threatened when rebels throughout the city decided to rise up against the rulers and chose an immortal as their commander-in-chief. The rebels killed civilians, destroyed everything around them, and terrorized Li Yun's wife. Li Yun tried to save his wife from rebellion by telling her that the previous ruler was incompetent and that he decided to overthrow Li Yun because of his incompetence. His wife wanted to know if the current ruler was also a source of public discontent. While trying to escape, the couple encountered rebels who at first thought that Li Yun was their ruler, but soon realized that they were ordinary people. The hermit tried to negotiate with the rebels, but the rebels proved incapable of dialogue and decided to kill them in order to finally enjoy themselves with the hermit's beautiful wife. After finding out that the rebels were second-rate thugs who did not even feel air currents, he decided not to make too much noise in order not to reveal his secret identity. Without losing his mysticism and focusing on his goal, to save his wife, the immortal killed the bandit with one wave of his hand and turned his body into ashes with the help of chi energy. Everything seemed to be back to normal, but the sudden appearance of imperial power forced the immortal to face a new threat. Imperial slaves tried to arrest and check everyone around them, look for traitors, find leaders, and restore order. The immortal knew that he could be imprisoned. This was due to the fact that using their unique abilities in front of the imperial servants could lead to their secret identities being leaked. The Imperial Guard became interested in the pit left after the battle with the rebels in the middle of the courtyard and concluded that it was created by the leader of the rebels. The commander ordered to separate all the detainees into men and women for interrogation. The husbands only managed to whisper to their wives that soon they would be together again. The empress of the country was Li Yun's wife, who hid her face so long to live that even her beloved husband did not know who she was. When her husband was taken in for questioning, it turned out that the real purpose of the attempt was to seize the throne, and criminals were hired to carry out this plan. An investigation by the Imperial Police showed that the capital bandits were behind the incident and that they had been hired by someone to organize a conspiracy and rebellion. An investigation revealed that the Empress's family may have been involved in this insidious plot, which shocked the Empress, who had just ascended the throne and had already made enemies. Now the Empress had to rule the country in this incredibly shocking and painful situation. The Empress was interested in where the leader of the rebels was hiding. After questioning the boy, the guards let the Empress's husband go. He was surprised by their politeness. At the feast that the guards prepared for the hermit, he did not guess that his wife was the empress herself. The secret of her identity remained intact, and the young man was surprised not only that he was not questioned, but also that he was treated generously. The empress faced a difficult task: to identify traitors to the family, establish stability, and take care of her husband's safety. She was tormented by the feeling that she had just ascended the throne, and the scoundrels were already trying to shake its foundations. She's afraid to deal with them. When the dust began to settle after the rebellion, chaos and destruction ensued. The suffering and cries of the innocent victims of the conflict could be heard. Husband and wife realized how much they love each other and decided that nothing in the world could separate them. After that terrible night, life seemed peaceful again, but people spoke in whispers about the events of the previous night. The empress and her husband walked the streets of the city, enjoying life. The girl was in a good mood, and the guy thought she was beautiful. In the middle of the square stood a mysterious masked girl with a rebel poster, a source of anxiety and worry. Seeing the mysterious masked girl, Li Yun felt an unknown attraction towards her figure, which annoyed his wife. An inquisitive boy approached the mysterious girl and, recognizing her face, politely asked her to remove her mask. He found out that she was a lodger in his house and did not pay rent beyond the terms of the lease agreement. Suddenly she recognized her master and tried to distract him and run away, but tripped over a stone, fell and hit her head. Realizing that she would not be able to escape, she fell to her knees and begged the boy to forgive her and let her go. He stated that her name was Li Shui and that she had not joined the rebels, although she had a strong desire to do so. She assured him that she would be able to pay the rent on the house if she joined the rebels and found a leader. If she does, her life will change forever. During the interrogation, the girl revealed her goal: to find an immortal so that he would become their ruler and restore order in society. The girl assured that she had a portrait of him given to her by her father, which she showed to passers-by, trying to find out who had seen him. That Li Yun was then scared and worried that her identity might be revealed, especially after Li Yun thoroughly erased all traces of her past. The portrait on the papyrus didn't look like Li Yun at all. The man looked much older, with a beard and mustache, big ears, and a distorted face that calmed the boy down. This raised new questions, forcing the Empress and Li Yun to consider new possibilities and gather information to understand what had happened and how the mystery could be solved. People on the street began to whisper that the legendary immortal had been captured and arrested by the soldiers of the Six Realms on the orders of the Empress. That day a stranger arrived in the capital, but his purpose remained a mystery. He decided to rest in one of the mysterious restaurants of the city. So far, no one has recognized him. He ordered a dish from the menu and enjoyed the unexpected attention of the girls. The situation in the restaurant changed dramatically, and people fell silent when the Emperor's messenger appeared at the door with an order to arrest and punish the stranger. This caused excitement and alarm among the maids and guests who watched the stranger. No one expected to see the protagonist of the recent incident in such a place. The bearded giant, rumored to be immortal, was now in danger of arrest and punishment, despite the fact that he had nothing to do with the wanted man. A stranger named Zhang Fu got up from the table and stood in front of the agents. He drew his sword and tried to repel the enemy's attack. But to the surprise of everyone present, the stranger looked at the investigator and knelt before Yun Jia Yunim, hugged him in tears and asked to arrest him. This awkward situation only angered the guards. When the man was arrested, he only smiled and hoped to see the ruler soon. 7 years ago, Chang Hu was a doctor, but now he found out that he has been wanted for many years, even though he only tried to join the rebels. They thought that the hermit had been sent to them by God because he had suddenly fallen from heaven. The doctor helped him. He survived and became their leader. The situation became tense when the arrested man made his way through the crowd of citizens and saw his leader standing next to the Empress. The guards also noticed his surprised expression and tried to get information from him, demanding that he show them his accomplices in the crowd. But the prisoner was not confused and, on the contrary, responded to the guard with loving compliments, so the confrontation escalated and the man was arrested. Li Yun didn't expect to see his friend there, and under the circumstances, he allowed Zhang Hu to be arrested on purpose, hoping that maybe he would take responsibility for his actions. The immortal hoped that the man had a plan or strategy of his own and tried to figure out his motives. The Empress assured that she would not allow anything bad to happen to her husband. She would do everything possible to protect him. An invisible figure moved quickly and silently along the roofs of houses in the gloomy darkness of the city to the prison, which was considered the most guarded place in the capital. Legend had it that whoever came to rescue his friend at this place would have his leg broken before he even reached the gate. The amazing dexterity and shrewd mind of our hero allowed him to sneak into the prison without being noticed. The head of the prison claimed that even the most skilled warrior would not be able to penetrate the territory. The prisoner was glad to see his friend, noting that he had no doubts about his cleverness and ingenuity, which helped to penetrate the prison without difficulty. After the doctor's treatment, which lasted for 3 months, the boy understood that he can have chi energy, thanks to which he can become stronger, improve his body. But there is also one dangerous point. The more he learned to master chi energy, the more vividly this deficiency manifested itself, hair loss. But thanks to the doctor, this side effect is now gone. If he had not been cured, he would never have married his beautiful wife. Before saying goodbye, the visitor treated the deceased with donuts, on which he spent all his money, not knowing that this would lead to problems in the future. Jang Hu reported that he felt his imminent death, but the boy advised him not to think about it, but to drink more hot water, which would cure him. The doctor asked to be more careful because the new ruler has recently ascended the throne and the palace is still quite weak, so famous families will try to create intrigues there. Especially the Huang family is connected with this uprising. It seems that they are planning something that will affect the entire capital and the empress as well. Here a rustling was heard from afar, and the guest quickly disappeared, and the guard entered the room, hearing suspicious sounds, looking at the camera, and began to threaten to question who the prisoner was talking to. Questions about sympathy between men helped to put him to rest. The bearded man realized that this was the only way to distract the guard. Returning home along the roofs of the houses, Li Yun pondered the words said by his friend and looked for an opportunity to protect his wife from this rebellion. The next morning, the empress and her husband decided to visit the Longshan temple, where they intended to make a wish in front of a wishing tree, which was believed to have a great power of fulfillment built into it. The teacher of the temple, the most prominent figure in the city, Master Kon Wen, was noted not only for his holy piety, but also for his impressive activity in charity. Helping the poor, he unexpectedly turned his temple sanctuary into a real center of intrigue and intelligence. He knew the innermost secrets and intrigues in the city. He even managed to gain knowledge that the leader of the rebels broke into the prison last night. Li Shuge decided to visit the abbot and talk to him. She couldn't resist trying to find out who was in charge of the rebel movement, but the abbot assured her that he didn't have that much information. However, his face expressed only a temporary calm, because the next moment he was surprised by the unexpected visit of the immortal, whom he did not expect to meet here. Seeing them together, the abbot was surprised to immediately recognize the empress and the immortal, wondering what a funny fate allowed them to become spouses. He wondered what would happen when they found out the truth about each other. Can this truth lead to reconciliation of their relationship, or, on the contrary, will it give birth to a new battle? Passing by, the monks noticed how they intimidated the man to buy more wishboards, which explained the recent popularity of this place. The guy managed to quietly ask the abbot what the Huan family had planned, while his wife was fascinated by the beauty of the surrounding places. He suggested going to Tenshin's grain store if he wanted to clarify the situation, where to find answers to questions. The majestic wishing tree in the Lunshan temple instantly enchanted with its graceful beauty, huge branches which were decorated with complete dedication with small plates on which the most cherished dreams of believers were woven. The couple wrote their wishes on the boards and hung them on the magic tree in the hope of faster fulfillment of wishes. When he went to the tree to see what the lovers had planned, he saw that the husband wanted to be always close to his wife, and the wife dreamed that all his wishes would be fulfilled. Meanwhile, in a musty prison, investigators tried to interrogate a stranger, determined to find out who was behind the mutiny and where their ringleader was. Despite the serious questions, the bearded man, wrapped in chains from head to toe, who found himself in the hands of justice, only laughed and advised the leader to search at the bottom of the sea. In his report, the doctor described the immortal as someone who can turn into a 300-meter-tall robot, possesses various ninja techniques, is almost a king, has a harem, and is an enemy for evil. In fact, the man wrote down the first thing that came to his mind, because he was not going to tell the truth even under torture. On the contrary, it amused him. The guard's threats of brutal torture and to set a dog on the prisoner did not scare him. He was not going to expose the identity of his leader. The investigators discovered that the prisoner had a visitor at night because they knew that he was eating donuts that someone had brought. Although the man ate everything to pieces so that no traces would remain, this information could not escape the shrewd investigator. For this, Chen Hai examined the feces of the captive, in which he detected the smell of fiber, which is characteristic for baking. Zhang Hu understood that the people who work in the 6 doors are not full of intelligence if they are capable of such research. The situation became increasingly tense. This indicated the presence of an important person, perhaps the leader of the prisoners. However, despite the serious efforts of the investigators, they were unable to obtain information from the prisoner. The man only reported that they were looking for the wrong thing and saw the enemy in the wrong place, not seeing the most important thing. The aristocrats have looked open enough recently only because they have gathered enough attacking troops. In the huge imperial palace, a real investigation into the penetration of a dungeon stranger into the impregnable prison began. Investigators were aware that the person delivering the buns to the prison was not financially well off because they were cheap. They only knew the information that the leader dismissed the rebels in order to live an ordinary human life and not engage in dangerous things. Maybe he had a wife and children, so he couldn't do dangerous things. The Empress came to the conclusion that perhaps the rebels had conspired with the aristocratic family. She assumed that the leader who left his position had no involvement in the events in the palace. However, she thought that the rebel leader looked like her own husband. That day, Li Yun went to the institution that the monk insisted on visiting, hoping to find answers to his questions there. The place looked peaceful until the businessman's assistant suddenly appeared, shouting loudly that things were bad and people from the 6 doors were coming here. Entrepreneurs were always afraid of the authorities, so he handed his assistant a book and quickly instructed him to escape through another exit, giving it to the owner. Meanwhile, the Empress's guards blocked all the exits and ordered no one to leave. A thorough search began. They even looked into the barrels but found nothing. The investigator said that the speaker pointed here to a secret imperial agent who called himself Zero Detective. Immediately, the investigator noticed yellow stones scattered on the floor of the pavilion, which caused concern because of their danger in large numbers. The Empress's husband took the book from the boy, leaving the boy unconscious and amazed at how easy it was to use. It turned out to be a diary detailing where Miss Huang went and how she spent her time during the month. However, the boy did not believe that everything was so simple. He suspected that secret information was hidden here and decided to check the book with the help of Qi. It turned out that the book was written with Qi energy, and therefore, even if someone took it, without the possession of this energy, the secret content remained invisible and incomprehensible. Applying his skill, the boy saw how the letters instantly began to move and change positions, creating a secret text that revealed the true intentions of the enemies. It opened up new dimensions of mystery, adding mystery to the intrigues of all who were drawn into this sophisticated labyrinth of imperial secrets. In the records, it was written that the action should begin only when the Empress leaves the court. There is a possibility that she will remain in the capital, which could become a hindrance to their plans. According to the rules, the Empress must leave the palace after the coronation, and this could have negative consequences. My family wanted to get rid of her at the moment when she would not be at home, using the coronation day as an opportunity to occupy the throne. Therefore, the guide decided that his wife should not participate in this dangerous adventure for her own safety.